Доброго вечора. Good evening. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I will switch to English. I'm very, very glad to see you all, to see old good friends and new faces. My name is Alexandra Binat. I am chairwoman of the board of Alliance of Ukrainian Organizations and a member of the board of Sinimova e.V. And I want to sincerely welcome you to this event together with Magdalena. She will say something at the end. So the event is a part of our project. We are part of Berlin Strengthening the Civic Participation of Refugees from Ukraine. The project is supported by Commissioner for Integration and Migration of the Berlin Senate from the funds of the Senate Department for Integration, Labor and Social Services, a bit long title, but a very important one, and thanks. And we are implementing this project in cooperation with Agit Polska. Thanks for this great cooperation. So what is this project about? I will not tell you the whole curriculum, but we have something important what we want to speak with you today about. The project is actually organizing workshops and political participation for people who fled from Ukraine and for people with migration on the ground. We had already Zawtachina and Anya Chkowska-Stein, thanks, and Magdalena, who were our speakers. And in the very first model of project, which is already ended, we have our group also here today. The first thing what people, activists from Ukraine who are participating in this project, asked me after we discussed the new integrational law in Berlin. They asked me actually a very simple question. They asked me, so okay, the law, this new integrational law from 2021 seems to be great, and how can actually civil society in Germany monitor the implementation of this law, which is on the paper totally good, no? Because, so the question is coming because in Ukraine we are used to a strong civil society, which is used to strong practices of monitoring of implementation of laws. So how does it work here? We came with this question to everybody in the city, to Integrationsbeauftragter, to Landeszentrale für politische Bildung, to Reinhard Fischer, and to everybody. And so we developed this podium discussion because it's actually a very topical issue for all of us. Are there mechanisms who are existing, participatory mechanisms for civil society actually enough? It's also a topical question because we have an Aktionsplan Ukraine, which is currently being developed. So we have our podium discussion today. What impulses can people with migration on the ground give to strengthen Berlin's civil society? For our plan for today, we will have a welcome speech from Magdalena. And then we'll have an input from Halina Kornienko from Queer e.V. And then a discussion, and then we invite you to continue dialogue and exchange over great food and drinks. Food will come from Kreuzberger Himmel, from our great Syrian partner. And this is the first event of this series, and we want to continue with that. And I will end with, of course, thanks. First of all, thanks to the Nova Fellowship and Marina Hovoruchina, who is the main partner of this event. Marina is here. And to Agit Polska, Kwitny Queer, Team Bose for common planning and discussion, and our partners. And last but not least, I think we all know the news from the weekend, beside of Kiev shelling. We all know that AfD almost won the elections in Landkreis Oder-Spree, and I know that many of you are concerned about it. Me too. So I think this question of how can we actually strengthen our democracy, strengthen Berlin's civic society, by more cooperation between migrant communities, by more cooperation between administration, government, and migrant communities is one of the main issues for now. So I wish you all an interesting evening, and heading over to Magdalena. Thanks.
So good evening everybody, and at first thanks a lot Alexandra for inviting Agit Polska, our association, but also me to participate in this project. I am a founder of Agit Polska and chairwoman of Smart Cooperative, and I am thrilled to open this important discussion, how people with a migration background can contribute to strengthening Berlin civil society. The participation of migrants in Berlin civil society is incredibly significant, and I want to emphasize the vital role of Polish community in this conversation. Agit Polska, in our association, the focus of the project is to benefit and involve the Polish community. However, we also understand the importance of networking and collaborating with other communities, as exemplified by today's event. One of our key projects is a mentoring program that empowers Polish women, particularly in political structures. Recently, we expanded this program to include women from Ukrainian community. This has led to a strong network with Alliance of Ukrainian Organizations and the initiation of the joint projects, for example, like the powerful photo exhibition, I'm Not a Victim, I'm a Survivor. We are committed to continue this collaboration. I am excited about today's discussion, especially regarding how we can shape participation within administrative structures. These structures should be agile and responsive to current times and changes, ensuring the inclusion of diverse and interesting voices. I look forward to a productive discussion and exploring ways of leveraging the potential of individuals with migration background to strengthen and advance Berlin's civil society. Thanks a lot, and I wish you a nice evening.
Thanks, Magdalena. Dziękuję bardzo. For now, we will have an input from Halina Kornienko, one of the founders of Queer Queer, an LGBT organization from Ukraine. Halina also fled from Ukraine last year, and Halina will have an input in Ukrainian, and I will translate to English as good as I can.
Так, дуже дякую Олександрі за переклад. Мене звати Галина Корнієнко, я з України, з Гостомеля, і тут в Берліні я представляю частину організації «Квітне Квір», це організація квір-українців в Берліні.
So this is Halina Kornienko, she's from Ukraine, from Hostomel, a city near Kiev, for those who don't know Hostomel. And here she is representing a part of Queer Queer, LGBT organization from Ukraine.
Я була учасницею першого випуску саме цього проєкту з політичної участі. І під час нашої роботи ми багато говорили і порівнювали, як працює громадянське суспільство в Україні, як воно працює в Німеччині і що ми відчуваємо, будучи тут.
And Halina was participating in this project, we are part of Berlin, and she was part of the first group, and we were comparing a lot how the civil society is working in Ukraine and in Germany, and which instruments have both civil societies.
В першій частині своєї речі, коли Саша відкривала цей захід, вона говорила про те, що є прийнятий закон, і він чудовий закон, він дуже гарний закон, і було б дуже гарно, якщо він був втілений в життя.
So the first part now of my introduction, Halina is telling that I already told you about this new law or advanced law of integration, which was to 2021.
І я хочу тут провести невеличку паралель, тому що в Україні насправді теж приймається багато гарних законодавчих ініціатив, які повинні зробити життя більш демократичним, більш відкритим і більш пристосованим, повернутим обличчям до людей.
And actually in Ukraine we also have a lot of very good laws who are planned or were conducted to do the life more open, to do the society more open and to strengthen human rights.
Але те, що ми помітили, це те, що в Україні громадянське суспільство, якщо можна так сказати, більше налаштовано на контроль виконання цього закону і на те, щоб не давати цим законам і нормативним актам бути лише на бумазі.
And in Ukraine, the civic society is moving the whole time on the road of a big control over the implementation of the laws, because in Ukraine we know that if we will not control the implementation of the laws, there will stay a very good law on the paper.
І громадянське суспільство в Україні багато років працювало над тим, щоб цей зворотній зв'язок від громадянського суспільства до влади був налаштований.
And in Ukraine, civic society has been working a lot to make this feedback from civic society to governmental administrative structures strong and direct.
Під час нашого учбового курсу з Олександрою ми дізналися про наявність цілої низки інструментів, яким чином громадянське суспільство може спілкуватися з представниками влади, яким чином воно може давати зворотній зв'язок.
And in part of our project, we are part of Berlin, we talked about many instruments, how civic society activists or representatives can speak with representatives of administration or governmental structures.
Але демократія полягає саме в тому, щоб усі групи суспільства були почуті, і навіть ті, які наразі не є дуже видимими, теж були почуті.
But the democracy is working best of all if all the groups in the society can be heard. Not only the groups which can be at loudest, but also the groups who are maybe not so loud.
І наразі, так як ми опинилися, ми з моїми колежанками, ми з іншими людьми з інших організацій, які проводили цей курс, опинилися якраз в ситуації, коли ми представляємо мігрантську спільноту в Німеччині.
And now we have a situation where we, like Helena is telling about her, or this group also, another activists who came from Ukraine, who fled from the Russian war, who are here and who are new in Germany, and maybe they don't know German language so much.
Ми багато говоримо про те, що ми можемо побачити, будучи тут і зараз на цьому місці. Тобто я, наприклад, як представниця жінки, як представниця ЛГБТ-спільноти, як представниця мігрантської спільноти. Тобто яким чином те, що я за звичкою громадської діяльності можу моніторити і оцінювати, яким чином я і інші мої колежанки та колеги можуть надавати зворотній зв'язок.
And we are talking a lot how people who are now here, or for example like Helena, who is representing a community of women, who is representing a community of refugees, who is representing a community of LGBTQ people, can give feedback to governmental or administrative structures in Berlin.
В першу чергу, те, що перед нами стоїть, це мовний бар'єр, тому що наразі хтось вже підійшов і здав екзамен на сертифікат B1, хтось ще в процесі навчання, але такої мови, як ми володіли нею в Україні, канцелярської мови, якою спілкуються з державними службовцями, в нас ще нема.
And one of the main challenges for this group for now is language barrier, of course, because probably some of these people who came a year ago are learning a language now and they have maybe B1 or even B2, but still we don't have this important German bureaucratic language, which is important when we are talking to administrative structures.
В той же час ми зараз відносимося до спільноти, на яку направлено багато заходів від німецької держави.
At the same time, we are also part of the community who is taking a lot of Angebote, things who are done for this community, which are done from the administrative structures for this community.
В тому числі це державні проекти по підтримці і інтеграції людей з України.
So what she needs are projects which are publicly funded to support people from Ukraine who are refugees here.
І тут починають виникати питання, яким чином збиралися потреби цієї спільноти, яким чином держава, яким чином Берлін як місто, яким чином райони розуміли, які потреби у спільноти українських мігрантів наразі є.
And now one of the main questions what we have is how actually the needs of this group of persons whose Halina is representing were gathered by administrative structures, how the governmental or administrative structures were gathering these needs.
Тому що мовний бар'єр, він працює в обидві сторони, і це з мого досвіду, коли ти вже навіть починаєш розуміти німецьку, і ти розумієш, що тебе перекладають трошки не так або зміщають акценти.
Because language barrier is working on both sides. And Halina noticed that when her German became more and more better, and she understood, wow, the person who is translating me now here in this administrative structure is not translating everything what I am saying.
А потім ти читаєш звіт про те дослідження, яке проводиться з твоєю участю, і ти розумієш, що там зовсім по-іншому поставлені акценти. Це зовсім не те, про що я говорила.
And then she is reading the report after these needs were collected, after these interviews, and she understands, wow, the things what I was telling about, they are somehow completely, somehow wrong, described in this report.
І ще один приклад. Нещодавно я спілкувалася з однією організацією, яка теж реалізує один з державних проєктів. І це державний проєкт по роботі з жінками. І це було дуже дивне питання, чи вміють українські жінки користуватися інтернетом.
And maybe another examples for us to understand. She was speaking with a couple of days ago with an NGO who is doing projects for women, for Ukrainian refugee women. And one of the questions from this NGO to Halina was, so can Ukrainian women actually use internet? Do they know how to use internet?
І я чудово розумію, що Німеччина за останні 15-20 більше років прийняла дуже багато різних біженців з різних країн, які були в різному становищі і з різними особливостями. І дуже є таке, як сказати, дуже хочеться, коли, я по собі це знаю, дуже хочеться все уніфікувати. І по відчуттю зараз, коли я є зі сторони спільноти, якою надають допомогу, я відчуваю, що нас уніфікували і не підійшли, і не підходили більш індивідуально.
Okay, so now Halina knows from her practice, from the practical experience, that when you're doing projects, you are unificating things, and it's somehow just easier. And she understands that Germany received in the last 10 or 15 years different people as people who were searching for asylum here, or migrants, and these different groups of people are here, but somehow her feeling is that these groups of migrants have been unified by governmental structures who are giving help for refugees.
І тут може бути різні підходи, і можна чекати, поки мігрантська спільнота пристосується до тих законодавчих ініціатив, тих нормативних актів, які вже є, і дивитися на офіційні звіти, наприклад, від поліції, від соціальних працівників, і ви дивитесь на середній рівень, на так звану середню температуру по палаті.
And here we have different solutions of this problem. The one solution, we are just waiting until different migrational groups are more or less used to the society, more or less used to these laws, and more or less used how to report to police and so on. But then we will have something in the middle. The needs will be not particular needs of the group, but something which is very in the middle.
І тоді ми будемо як погрішність розглядати тих, хто не вписується в ті стандарти, в ті задані умови, які задає цей нормативний акт.
And then we will think about other groups who are actually not suiting so much in this middle group of needs. Then we'll just think, okay, there is this small group, but they are very small and probably not so important.
Це теж по власному досвіду, 15 років роботи в громадському секторі. Якщо в тебе є гарні результати по проєкту, то хочеться закрити очі на те, що не дуже вийшло, і зробити вигляд, що це було випадково.
And this is also is coming from her experience, this talk. She knows that because she was doing in Ukraine for 10 or 15 years projects with women to protect women, and she knows that if you have a very good report of the particular project, then it's better just to close the eyes towards something what is different and what is not suiting in this report so much.
У випадку, коли я працювала в адвокації в Україні, це саме те завдання, яке треба виконувати. Яким чином провести моніторинг і оцінку так, щоб оці, на перший погляд, неважливі кейси, неважливі люди, які саме показують, що в системі є збій, яким чином донести їх до державних органів, до нормотворчих органів і таке інше.
And actually it was one of the main tasks for her when she was working in civil society in Ukraine, how she can, in this system of monitoring the implementation of a very particular law, how she can give a feedback to governmental or administrative structures about these small groups who are not suiting in the reports, but who are important.
Ще один в мене є приклад стосовно квартирного питання, дуже актуального в Берліні. Я моніторю, які пропозиції зараз є для українців від громадських організацій і в тому числі від коучингових організацій. І одна з найперших, будь-якій організації, яка працює з українцями, це лекція семінарів «Як знайти житло».
And maybe one more example, she's monitoring what the projects, different NGOs in Berlin are doing to support Ukrainian refugees. And what she noticed, almost every NGO is have the workshop or seminar in the curricula how to find a flat.
Це дійсно актуальна проблема, і я так розумію, що майже кожна організація, яка збиралася працювати по інтеграції, по запитанню інтеграції українців, поставила собі це завдання. Але від того, що проводиться купа семінарів по всьому Берліні, як знайти житло, житла в Берліні більше не стає.
So she understands why this workshop is conducted. But from the situation, if we will have many workshops of how to find a flat in Berlin, we will not have a better situation on the flat market in Berlin because there are actually no flats.
І тут питання, це, наскільки я розумію, по тим проєктам, які я заглядала, це гроші, які на ці проєкти виділяє місто. Це великі гроші. І чи дійсно треба стільки грошей було вкладати в семінари, в тренінги по тому, як знайти житло, при тому, що проблема, вона залишається, вона не вирішується. Створюється видимість, що щось з цією проблемою роблять.
And this is one of the main questions, because she took a look into financial plans and she understood these projects have a very big sum and they are funded by public, öffentliche Gelder. And her big question is it really a right way to finance such projects if we cannot change the situation with the flats on the flat market?
І це один з таких прикладів, де громадянське суспільство, яке є тут в Берліні, яке є в Німеччині, могло б допомагати, могло б давати зворотній зв'язок і могло б співпрацювати. Але отут стоїть найважливіше питання, яким чином це можна налагодити, враховуючи знов-таки, що мігрантська українська спільнота наразі не має такої підготовки, щоб співпрацювати напряму в державних органах, щоб приходити на зустрічі парламентів, рад районів і говорити від лиця громадянського суспільства. Делегувати ці обов'язки – це знов-таки ризик, що акценти будуть зміщені і що знов інформація не дойде.
So for now, it's one of the main questions or challenges for them is how they, as a new migrational community, new because Ukrainians have been here, of course, but she's speaking about people who are refugees here and who it's a big community, how they can actually give feedback on these new laws or on new projects which are suggested or which are funded by the public money, because they cannot just delegate it somewhere else because it will not meet the needs of them.
І на останнє, це останній такий момент, на останнє це питання роботи, питання зворотнього зв'язку від громадянського суспільства українського з питань дискримінації, тому що
And one of the last questions is how we can give feedback from our migrational communities, for her it's Ukrainian migrational community, concerning discrimination.
Тому що з питанням дискримінації в Україні, принаймні з громадянським суспільством, ми працювали дуже добре. І люди мають розрізняти, де є дискримінація, де є утиск, де є мова ненависті. І знов-таки суперкласний закон про недопущення дискримінації, суперкласний додаток про те, як можна повідомити про дискримінацію, в якому, до речі, нема українців, а не всі українці знають англійську, німецьку, і не всі будуть писати російською. Тобто хтось принципово не буде подавати в додаток російською мовою.
Because we have now, and it's the last point what you want to point out, we have now, of course, we have now this migrational community who was walking, of Ukrainians who were walking in Ukraine with discrimination issues, who knows very good what is discrimination, what is hate speech, who can differentiate it very good, and who can also give a feedback on that very good. And on the other hand, we have these great laws which we have in Berlin. We know that Berlin is one of the least Bundesländer who have this anti-discriminative, very important law, and we have this app, app. But again, in this app there is no Ukrainian language, for example, and not all of Ukrainians know English and German, and not all of Ukrainians want to write in Russian.
І це теж важливе питання, яким чином може передаватися зворотній зв'язок від громадського суспільства. І наостанок я скажу, що українське громадське суспільство, яке зараз тут, воно вже зібралося, воно вже активно, воно вже працює, воно готово співпрацювати і воно готово випрацьовувати спільні рішення, яким чином цей зворотній зв'язок налагодити. І готово співпрацювати, обговорювати інструменти, за допомогою яких це можна робити.
And as a last point, Halina wants to point out that the Ukrainian civic society gathered here, Ukrainian civil society connecting with each other. We have alliances and we are ready to work on these instruments to make them better if it's possible. And we are also very interested to work together with governmental and administrative structures. Yes, and the main point is, so you understood already, how to give better feedback from civil society to governmental and administrative structures.
Так, дякую за увагу і ще раз хочу сказати дякую німецькому народу, німецьким організаціям, німецьким політикам, всім, хто з нами спілкується, хто нас слухає. І я думаю, що завдяки цим діалогам наразі став можливим і цей діалог теж. Дякую.
So many thanks to you that you came, many thanks to German population, the German government who is supporting us, supporting people with migrational background, supporting people from Ukraine and other people with migration background. And due to the support, the dialogue is possible and also today's event. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rupa Tkaczyk and I have a pleasure to moderate this discussion tonight. I work normally in the free economy, but in my free time I'm also active in the third sectors, in the civil society, among others in the Young Polish International Network and also in the Polish Federation. So I have the honor to as I mentioned, moderate this discussion. We have distinguished guests on the podium, and we start with a short introduction round. Maybe from the other side, I will start with Katarzyna Niewiedział, who is the Commissioner for Integration and Migration at the Berliner Senate since 2019. And before she was also active in the similar role as an Integration Commissioner in the district of Berlin called Pankow. And she, before, as I know also, she was a former managing director of the think tank Progressive Centrum. So active in this role for a long time. And she has been successfully strengthening the dialogue between the Berlin administration and the civil society, which she will talk in a moment about her role. Then we have Liliana Usik, right? Lilia. She's the member of the Berliner House of Representatives since March this year. And she's originally also from Ukraine, as many participants in this room, since 2011. And as I learned, Yusuf came to basically become a teacher. But you landed in the Berliner politics. You are in the CDU since 2016. And before you became the part of the House of Representatives, you were active in the district office of Lichtenberg. Good, then I will continue with the ladies. Magdalena Ziomek, she is originally from Poland, a creative worker and social entrepreneur. We already learned something in the opening statement. A founder, CEO and board member of the association Adit Polska, and also of the SMART group, which includes SMART Network of Creatives, SMART Group and SMART Bildungswerk. Very impressive. Good, and last but not least, we have the last member of our podium, our only gentleman tonight, We had another, but unfortunately Mr. Chinar got sick, so that's why I'm sorry you're the only male representative on this podium. Abdul Wahizia Mobalek, you are the program manager and researcher of the YAR Association, which is a think tank supporting the Afghan refugees. You worked previously as a senior program officer of the Heinrich Böll Stiftung in Berlin, but you also were a country director in the local office in Kabul in Afghanistan. And in this role you managed different roles like establishment of the Afghan organizations, you supported initiatives in civil society on transitional justice, women's rights and peace process, and you're also author of many books in the Persian language, also of the manuals for civil society. So I think here you are the expert on the third sector, so I'm very happy to greet you all in this discussion, and thank you for your participation. And we have had this opening statement which already raised a lot of interesting points that we want to discuss tonight. But before we make a comment on this opening statement from Mrs. Kornienko, I'll start with the opening round. So we'll start with some general topics and then we'll move to the details. And I will start with Ms. Nivedjau. I would like you to maybe give us like a broader picture how Berlin has changed in the recent few years, or in decades, but especially the recent years that were very, let's say, intense. The city is changing very quickly. It's a very dynamic, multicultural metropolis with a very international and relatively young population. And we know that it's an international population of 40% of people having a migration history and 20% not having the German passport. So what does it mean for the city, this dynamic change? How, for you, the society has changed, and how is the Berliner government and administration answering to this changing social and demographic structure? Where do you see the main challenges, and where do you see your personal role in this process? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation and the nice introduction. Thank you very much for your statement. It was very interesting to what question you raised. But first of all, let me just explain maybe the bigger picture, and I try to answer all these 100 questions you just asked. Where I can start? Probably by the definition how we describe Berlin. Berlin is a migration society, we call it. It's not an immigration city, it's a migration society, which means we try not to deal with migration in a crisis way. We try to manage migration because it's a very constant point of building our city. You just said 3.7 million people, inhabitants, live in our city, and almost 1.4 million are foreigners, which means people with migration background, own migration background, or from their families. Which you can go farther even and say that almost half of the population of the young people have migration background. So we are very, very diverse. The policy or the bigger approach in our city is to invite the people from the day one to participate in this, in the city, in the structures, to invite them to be part of the society, which means not necessarily to learn German very quickly, but to understand the structure, how this society works. And I'm very much in, explaining the structure, even in Ukrainian language or Arabic or whatever language. For me, it's very important that the people who are new here understand what kind of society we are. And especially the political structure and the possibilities how to participate. Which means participation means what can I do to improve my situation? How can I empower myself to be an equal member of the society? And this approach means a lot. We have a very complex society. We have a huge range of possibilities how to participate. Excuse me. English. I have to change a little bit my mouth. How to participate. You mentioned the law, which I'm very happy because Berlin is the only state in Germany who has this laboratory law. But still, it's a written paper, as you said, and written paper is always paper. And what we have to do right now, me in my position, you as civil society, our NGOs, is to get this law as a living document, as a, get into practice. And maybe I just stop here, and in the next question I will explain how we can get into practice with the law.
All right, thank you very much for this opening response that gives a lot of hope for more details. And now I ask Magdalena, as a representative of the Polish society community, but also as a representative of NGOs, because we heard she is very active here in Berlin. The Polish society is one of the oldest, also one of the biggest ones in Berlin, but also in Germany. It's a little bit similar to the Turkish community, which unfortunately we will not have the perspective of tonight, but I think there are some parallels in terms of being already relatively established in the city, but still maybe not completely integrated. As a provocative question, but how do you see it? What is your perception now as a person who really lives and works here in different structures? How the city and the structures have changed for you as a citizen, but also as an activist? And do you feel empowered? We heard this word empowerment, right? This is the invitation to participate. Do you have the feeling that you are empowered enough, you have the structures, the mechanism that really allow you to give feedback and to be heard and to really have your needs being considered? Okay.
Maybe yes. I'm here as a representative of the Polish community, and to be honest, we are still as a community very jealous about the Turkish community. When we look at them, how well organized they are, how many people are participating also in administrative and political structures, I think really this the community we can learn from how to act and how to be in the really active part of the society. In Polish structures, we have of course some problems of different waves on migration. So we have old migration, we have young migration, we have people who speak German, or we have people who speak only English, and we have really people of different needs. I think the people who are coming right now, they do not see themselves as a Polish people, they are just European who choose Germany to live here, but we still have also very big group of migrants, Polish, who came here and who want to keep on their traditions or on their way of living. And it is for me very interesting to see the different kind of association, like Agit Polska is for empowerment of Polish women, but we have also like the beautiful organization of Polish women in Berlin, who are really doing like the roots work, helping every woman in the need, in the bad situation. And this is really a great example of community which works very well via internet and via website, but for example they have problems of not having not having a place where they can meet because they do not have like place of the association. So of course we have needs as a community, but we have also a lot of successes, and one of the successes is the people, the women, the strong women I see who enter the German administration. It is Ania Czechowska, who is, of course it is Kasia Niewiedział, but she was not in Agit Polska before. But Weronika Prysmajer-Tkocz, I mean, all these great women from our community, for sure they are right, also men, but I do not have them very present right now, which I see that they follow the ideas and follow the dream and enter strong German society, bringing our perception and bringing our needs. So I think that the times are better. We still have needs, but the times are better.
It's very nice to hear that basically everything is changing for good, so the people really feel more empowered, especially women, powerful women. Now we have another perspective, and Mr. Robale, I would like to ask you, because you still have this fresh look on Berlin and the Berlin situation. You also represent a community that is slightly different from the Polish one, from the Turkish people that basically suffer a lot, violation of human rights, for decades of conflict, coming from the region that is really shaped by very serious issues, right? The regime, the limitation of democracy, but also personal freedom, very often hunger, economic crisis. So many issues that are really much more serious that we might have here in Berlin on site. But still, you represent this Afghan community here, and what is your perception on the situation in Berlin right now, looking from the Afghan refugees perspective? How do you see this relationship between the civil society, the administration, and the government? You as also an engaged person, but also as an expert on the civil society, do you have the feeling that we have a strong social civil society in Berlin, and what makes in general a strong civil society? And maybe, I'm sorry, there are so many questions, but also what are your expectations? Like coming, let's say, from this very difficult region, what are expectations towards Berlin and here the structures inside? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And actually, I should appreciate you for coming this session and opening the discussions about something non-market integration of refugees, and it refers to the political and civic engagement, which is actually very important. In your organization that I'm working here, the government and administration is in contact at different levels with us, and help us to foster the political integration of the Afghan community here. And actually this means that they recognize and appreciate our job or expertise. But what we understand is that, and actually we experience, is that the government institutes and different administrations, they are very interested only for integration, and it's a very specific definition of this integration. It means to help the Afghan community people to learn language and to find a job and to be integrated in the marketplace, and also as Ms. Korniko said, to help the community how to find a house. This is so the administration is pushing us too much toward this kind of activities, like counseling and providing. But when we are in contact with the community, they are more interested in learning about the engagement. And engagement, like the civic engagement and also political engagement, and how to learn how the politics works in Germany, because it's totally different from the country like Afghanistan and the other country in the region, which has a central government, centralized government, but here in Germany the politics is divided in the states and also among the Bundesgovernment. This is very important. The other important issues that always the Afghan refugees are demanding is learning more about the laws and how they can participate in this process, law-making process, policy-making process. And for this, they are very interested to learn about the background of the politics in Germany. I can give you an example if I'm not too long talking. We conducted a summer school for the newcomer Afghan refugees here after fall of Kabul, and they are very educated people. They were university lecturers, and also they were working in the civil society in Afghanistan, but now they are living in exile. So they were learning about the history of German politics, and when we took them to the German History Museum and they learned about the Weimar Republic, that was very interesting because they could actually see how the politics is developed in Germany. These are some of the demands. I mean, more education about the politics, about the civic engagement, and more engagement and communication with the authorities. This is what they really are interested and demanding.
Okay, can I just ask in between, do you have then the feeling that maybe the authorities do not underestimate the refugees and the migrants and their needs, that, like we heard in the opening statement, that were often just basic offerings being done? So is it also you think that basically you are underestimated in your expectations?
No, what I want to say is that it looks like that this process is not a bottom-up process. It's actually a top-down process, looking at the refugees' needs. I already said, for example, Ms. Korniko also said that about this, yeah? So what we need is to really make the process of for example, providing funds for training of refugees and training them for social engagement, political engagement, and also integration. And the concept of the integration, what it means, it should be really discussed through a bottom-up process. This is what I really want to emphasize.
Thank you very much. Lydia, we introduced you already as one of the youngest politicians in the House of Representatives, and you are probably the first one Ukrainian-born professional politician in Germany, is it correct?
As far as I know.
So I can imagine now with the big community of Ukrainian people living in Berlin, there are probably also very high expectations from this community towards your mandate. Do you feel this responsibility? Do you feel this kind of a mission? And what are these kind of expectations? How do you fulfill them? And what do you want to do and what you can do for your Ukrainian community in Berlin?
Yeah, thank you so much once again for the invitation, and thank you for wonderful questions. So as far as I know, it's really true. It's like first ethnical Ukrainian in the German House of Representatives, and I'm happy to start my political career in the House of Representatives, being like also representative of Ukrainian diaspora here. And I've been living in Berlin since 2011, so I started my studies here, and then I worked in the German Parliament, and I knew that Ukrainian diaspora is very active. We actually knew most of active Ukrainians here, so I see some of them right now in this hall as well. And I saw that diaspora changed a lot during all these years. So we got many students, we got so many new faces. And with the beginning of the war, there were like many refugees from Ukraine. My family, for example, they came also as refugees, like women from my family. And I saw that Ukrainians are integrating extremely quickly. So they were starting networking and helping each other and looking for some ways to participate, to integrate. They tried to look for job, and they even said like we would take any job, also like unqualified. And German official structure said, whoa, 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 stop. Go and study a language. Go and you're like an engineer. You need to work as an engineer. You don't need to go and work in any other sphere if you don't want to. Take your time. And kids went to school, kids went to kindergarten. So Ukrainians asked me, even like before this political history, how to find a flat. So flat house, this question is probably like the biggest one, and we are sitting together in Lichtenberg with Jana Kramer, and she was coordinating Ukrainian work in Lichtenberg in our district, and we saw that this question was probably like the biggest one. So this question is following me, like even in this political sphere, we are thinking about how we can help Ukrainians. It's not only Ukrainian problem in Berlin, you know, like all of you know that flat and housing in Germany, in Berlin, is the most acute question, and I'm also sitting in the committee of development of the city. So I know like what we are building, how many social houses and flats are being planned, and I know it's not enough. It's not even approximately enough, not for Ukrainians, not for any other migrants, not for Berlin inhabitants. So we need to find like instruments how to help them. And the second question was with school and kindergarten, for example. They were looking like young moms, they wanted that their kids go to school. And then we had this like enormous twist with Ukrainian teachers. So at the beginning it was like the politics was, oh, we have amazing number of Ukrainian teachers who can like start teaching in welcoming class. And then there was like political shifting that all of them need to know language with C2 level. C2 level is like native tongue. Like I think like you can have it after maybe bachelor in German philology and master in German philology, but you cannot even imagine a person like living 1 year in Germany having C2 level. It's like not realistic. So I think it's like another political initiative that I will take with me and try to help Ukrainian teachers to work here, because most of them are working in Ukrainian classes digitally. So like all of Corona challenges of Berlin, that we do not have digitalization and we have so many challenges and kids are suffering and so on. Ukrainian teachers, they didn't have that. They are still working digitally with their classes, even living in all possible countries for now. Like I know classes that are living, like kids are living in 7 different countries, and still they have like their work. So this is the like most important thing for many of them. And after being elected to the House of Representatives, I saw that many said, okay, you are like a first one. You are an example for us, a motivation. How can we participate in political life? So you just brought this issue. And my experience is that there are many migrant groups who are more active in politics than Ukrainians for now. And I think this situation can change, but I have so many Turkish politicians, like German politicians with Turkish migrant background, and also with other possible backgrounds, but I know, like, let's say several people from Ukraine, like with Ukrainian migration background, who went into this political career and are trying to be like a member of political party or a member of political structure. And I think like here we need to inspire, because many Ukrainians have so much to show, to give to German society, and maybe as a possibility when they are like, if they want to go back to Ukraine, they will take all this experience with them, so it's like profit in both ways.
Great, thank you so much, and I think you are probably a great role model for a lot of young Ukrainian people coming to Berlin. Good, so now we want to get a little bit more concrete and talk about the matching of the needs and the services from the city, right? We heard that might not always work that well in all the cases.
So, Mrs. Niewiecza, I want to ask you, how can we ensure that the respective migrant groups get the right offering that matches their needs, that really encompasses their situation and basically meets the expectations of the specific communities? And maybe what the civil society can do to express their needs better, more efficiently, more directly. And I know that you already have a lot of nice projects, so maybe here you can also talk about the initiatives that already exist and the formats that work well. Yeah, and maybe also mention a little bit about the types of projects that are funded by the government, by the administration, which type of these projects are receiving the funding and what are the criteria. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I would like to start with your statement actually, and the question, how do we build political programs in general way? I wouldn't agree that top-down approach is what we do in Berlin. I would say we do exactly the opposite. As I mentioned, our law, it wasn't a law created by politicians. Just to give you an example, the law was created by our council, actually, which is which involve elected people with migration background who formulates needs on a structural level and try to force the politicians to create such law. This is just one example how this bottom-up approach is functioning in Germany.
Another, just to ask you, you mean the Landesbeirat?
The council, yeah, Landesbeirat, yeah, exactly, advisory board, advisory council, exactly. Second example, which also illustrates how we understand our work, is our programs, which one of them is just here the example of Mi Berlin. Every program we formulate is not created by the administration. It starts always with the needs and discussion and hearings, table discussions, workshops, whatever, you name it, with the civil society. So we try to hear very clearly what the needs are, what the people want, and then try to formulate and build a program which, for example, right now is funding the Ukrainian organizations, Mi Berlin as an example. So we really take it very serious to have this this approach, not to be top down, by the other way around. 1 year ago, almost 1 year ago, when the war started, we invited our migration NGOs, people from the Ukraine, people who were active here, to video calls. We stayed very close in touch, just to hear what exactly are the needs and try to build our policies and programs in order to, to get the answers which were needed. This, I think, is quite a good understanding of our integration policy or participation policy we do in the city. And just the third example I would give you is just the role I have as a commissioner for integration and migration. Even if I'm part of the public administration, my role is quite special, because I have this mandate to do advocacy, actually. Advocacy for migrants, for people with migration background in the city, and to try to force the other departments, the other, sectors in our Senate, to open their programs, for example, for the needs of the migration population, try to be more diverse, and so on. The whole, the main part of our law, which was mentioned, is not just to force the participation, to try to empower people, to get a lot of funds to the migration NGOs, but also to invite people as employees to get in public administration, to get in political structures, and to represent the city as our society. So just try to answer your question. We don't see the civil society in a strong opposition to our political system. We see civil society as a part of our political system. It's a very important part, I would say. But it's not, in a conflictionary way. It's more in a cooperation way, which doesn't mean that we agree on everything. It doesn't mean that, because we have different roles, of course. But still, the invitation to come to the table and to look for common solutions is our approach and my understanding of my work and the work of the Berlin Senate, I would say.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mobalet, so we heard that's basically a bottom-up approach, not a top-down as your perception was. So the interesting question was, where is the issue, right? Why there are two different views at the same topic, and maybe you could say what would be the offering. You already mentioned this political engagement and the participation would be important to you more than the housing and some practical advices maybe. But what would be the offerings that would resonate with the Afghan community here? What are the real issues that are not covered yet? And when you think that there is a gap still, which stakeholders should be then in charge of developing and providing the specific programs for your community? And do you think that the civil society is in general a better partner in providing such programs than, for example, the public administration?
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I don't want to do a kind of monologue, but what we mean by developing a policy based on a bottom-up process. What is bottom? Yeah, when we say there's a bottom-up process, what is bottom? Bottom is civil society. Civil society are represented by the structures, by the NGOs and the groups of the people. Do we provide enough space for them to discuss a policy, to understand it, to define the issues within this specific policy which is going to be passed, to be implemented? Among the Afghan communities, for example, I don't see such a rule or ability that the civil society could have such a rule, because they don't have enough space, enough fund. Let me give you an example. In Germany, there is around 120 NGOs led by the Afghan refugees on paper, and some of them are more active, some not. But many of these NGOs, around 70%, they are just doing a kind of integration activities. And with the culture, it's a bit, it's the same, because when we talk about the culture, we also include the language learning. There are some funding. But when we go at the level of the representation, for example, provided funds for the media for refugees. Then the percentage is going beyond 1% in Germany for the Afghan refugees and Jews. Less than 1% of the Afghan refugees and Jews are dealing with the media. Why media is important? Because it's a tools of integration, it's a tools of communication, it's a tools for shaping the public opinion and also taking part in the political process. Without media representations, we are underrepresented. We really don't have meaningful discussions about the policies. This is what we mean, the bottom up. Yeah, it's based on the civil society and the NGOs that they are representing, their constituencies and also their interests. This is, I'm sorry, yeah, I really don't want to do a kind of monologue, but this is what I understand about the bottom up. Did I answer your question or?
Took it. Yes, thank you. Of course, we are not able to discuss all the aspects. It's quite a broad topic, but thank you very much for your contribution. I think it was very interesting to mention the media because, to be honest, I didn't think about this. It's like the fourth power that we talk about the government, administration, civil society. Media was kind of out of my scope. So thank you for bringing it up. I think it's a very, very important aspect. So now I'd like to ask you, Leah, about your role in the legislation. What is your feeling? What is the role of the civil society in passing and reviewing the laws? And how do you cooperate together with the civil society in this process, especially also with the migrant organizations? And how is the process of collecting the proposals from different groups, initiatives? If you could just explain a little bit, thank you.
Yeah, thank you once again. Excellent question, because it's like only the start of my working in this on this level, and before I was in the communal parliament, so for 1.5 years, and I could gather my experience there. But like as you told at the beginning, we have like Berlin as a society shaped by migration, and we have to have this reflection that we have so many migrants on all the levels. So first of all, before we start with any legislative act on that, independently on political party, as a discussion in our political community, we need to assess the consequences for migrants here. So for this case, it is all the time important to see what impact this legislative act will have on different migration groups. Second thing is we need to have all the possible discussions with the civil society, with different migrant groups. And it is important to understand that different migrant groups not automatically are working together or know each other. So my experience on the local level in our district was that there are people working in this sphere, in the migration sphere, they knew more about each other. But for example, the communities were not all the time interconnected. Most of that had also reflection in different migrant groups who are in the conflict right now. So for example, we have like Russian Ukrainian community, and for now they are like enemies and they do not want to talk about any dialogue. And when some representative of migration group is coming, like one NGO, for example, and saying it is important to start the dialogue, then migrant groups from both sides are like extremely alert about that, and they do not even want to start any kind of dialogues for now. So it is important to communicate, to know what they want, what they wish for, and what is the goal of all that. The next thing is evaluation. I'm a big fan of evaluation. So if we are working on legislative act, we need to evaluate, we need to have reports on that, we need to see how it's working. So it was the case with integration and participation law when we had it 2010, and we tried it, we saw how it works, and we saw, okay, on theoretically everything is perfect, but in practice we have some disadvantages, some things we need to make better, some feedbacks were not that positive, and that's why it led us to this like new edition of this law, so it's very important. And the next thing is monitoring. Monitoring, like from both sides, from political side, but also from the side of migrant organizations and also from the side of migrants, because our society is changing and we have new challenges, and we have new geopolitical challenges, but we have also different economical situation. And this is like one of the most important things. So all in all, like we need to keep that in mind. And when we are starting with all these processes, we know that it's a long process, but as like we are not in a hurry on that. We are looking for the best solutions, and we have different interest groups, and to like the question about unification, yeah, it's like a question how not to unify all migrant groups and still to make a law perfect for both German side and also like for the migrant side. And what is also very important, and I think it's a question and we need to know how to talk about it, is conflict solution. Like how to talk about conflicts on the daily basis, because like in my electorate district I have many communities of like all possible migrant communities, and when some people are coming to me and saying we have a problem, we do not know how to talk to our new neighbors and how to solve this problem, help us. And I think like it's a question where I personally also need help, because like I do not know how to talk about the conflict. It can be everything. It can be like children are too loud, or maybe rubbish sorting is not working, or maybe they think that their new neighbors are not integrating enough. All the possible conflicts, and you are staying completely like blank there, and you do not know how to solve this question. So I think like this probably is the next point. It's necessary for us to take into consideration on this way to new legislative acts.
Thank you very much. So we have talked about the role of the civil society in the legislation process, like giving also some impulses for the new laws, also for the formats, for the administration, what is needed, what is really relevant. What about the civil society itself? And the question goes to you, Magda. You as also expert on NGOs being active in different organizations. How do you feel should the NGOs from their structure, if it comes to the migrants organizations, now talking about the specific migration and integration topic, should they be consisted of the representatives of this community particularly, or should they have a mixed structure, also including the German society? So not only demanding from the German society to include us, people with migration history. I think I can speak for most of us here in the room. Or should we also be open in the other direction? Because very often we heard it also in between the lines that you cannot understand our needs, so we need to have the organization that consists of our people. But maybe it's not the right approach. What is your opinion about this?
Probably there are many answers on this question, depending on the community and on the needs, but for us, for Agit Polska, it was always very important to work with the German people and also with people from other nationality. It was the first field to test if our project is interesting also for German community. How can we speak to the German community? How can we cooperate? So this was very, very interesting moment, and we are also Polish-German association. We are not Polish association. We bring people together, and in the first days of our working, we were in Bremen and we were young and beautiful, and we wanted mostly to bring German culture and German art to Poland, and Polish culture and Polish art to Germany. We want to have different dialogue, fresh one and sexy about our culture, not in the old-fashioned way. And of course we get a bit older and we grow up, and right now we are doing project with participation and empowerment and political engagement, and we love it. and we are still open for the German societies, but there are some projects, but we are sometimes a bit wondering if it is always like this, that to have also Germans, for example, if we're talking about migrants economy. We were also doing projects for doing how to build a startup, how to build a business, and there are some points where I think it is easier for us from the Polish community to talk to the Polish here coming entrepreneur, how we can start, because we understand more the soul of the people, we understand more the art of the business, how we are thinking, and we do not put anything behind. So we are more honest and we can go faster forward to achieve some results. So I think there was for me an example of bookkeeping courses for Polish, led by German with Polish translation. I think we are losing a lot if we do such projects. So for me it will be more interesting just talking about economical issue. Like for example, if we do the courses of startups, to do it in the language with the Polish trainers. And this was also the project of Berliner Senatsverwaltung and Investitionsbank Berlin. So we also have Vielfalt unternimmt, Vielfalt gründet, I'm sorry. So we have also very good examples of this kind of projects. But I'm just talking about our community, about our experience, and probably there are communities who, or women groups who need the separation just to have the clearness and homogeneous voice when they are speaking in their name. So probably the answer is very, very different as Berlin and as different are the migrants communities and groups which are living here.
All right, thank you very much. So we can continue this discussion on different perspectives, maybe later after the official part with some wine. And now we'll move to the third part of our questions, which will be more the outlook in the future. How can we strengthen democracy in Berlin together with the perspective of the civil society, especially the newcomers here in the city? So again, the first question goes to you. How can we achieve even more intense involvement of the civil society in the political process in Berlin and achieve a better cooperation between the different stakeholders, the civil society, administration, the legislation as well? And how can the existing participation instruments can be enhanced with the perspective of the new migrant groups and people with the migration history? Or maybe, and here I'm getting a little bit provocative, you think you do enough. You have developed a lot of nice formats. You said you include already the civil society. You have a very vivid dialogue with the third sector. So maybe say maybe all these expectations are not legitimate because already the offer is there.
There's always room for improvement, I would say. To be still critical to their own policy is, I think, vital for democracy. I would maybe just try to emphasize two aspects which is important for me. I don't like the separation what you just said about the German part of the society and the other part, because we really are diverse, very, very mixed. I can't really see this division. And I don't want to see the division. But you can't, actually, in the city, you can't really divide. What you can see, the division you can clearly see in the public sphere. Media, for example, thank you for mentioning this, but also in political parties still, and also public administration. Not in the economy, not in the culture, gastronomy, whatever, but in these structures we still have this division, and I really want to overcome this. This is one part of a very seriously mentioned policy in this city. Try to employ more people with migration background in the political structure, like parliaments, but also public administration. I think it's really crucial. for both sides. This is the representative of the state, maybe, not looking like blonde and blue eye, but different color, still German, and it also works the other way around. This person feels like German and represents this city. So I think it's a very crucial aspect. And the other, it's always two pillars of our strategy which is important. The one is this kind of representation, and the other, still working on strengthening the civil society. We need strong voices of migrant organization, NGOs, who fights for democracy. We are living in a society which is very fragile. The democracy is nothing, written in the stone. It's very fragile. And I think we need the cooperation with you. We need strong voices, critical voices from the civil society. And on the other hand, I know it's not your work, voluntary political engagement. It's not for free. So we try, as a state public administration, to put a lot of financial resources to support your work. And these three pillars, I think, are crucial for the future.
Thank you very much. We'll have a dedicated question to this, how the best strengthen the civil society, so thank you already for starting this point. But before we move to this question, I would like to ask you, Lydia, about the legislation, but this time about the control mechanism. You already mentioned a bit that you also involve the civil society in the monitoring of the laws, that you work closely together, but do you have the feeling that the mechanisms that are in place are effective, are sufficient? Is there anything missing? And is there anything we can learn from other countries, like from Ukraine? We had this challenge at the beginning that basically the Ukrainian activists feel that it works better in Ukraine. So what would you say, what could we learn from the new perspectives and what you could adapt in your work? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again for your question. So I would say we are in a good dialogue for now, and we have enough control mechanisms from both sides and also evaluation mechanisms, for example, from both sides, like both civil society and, for example, administration or political sphere, to make improvements, and it's good that we have it. As you mentioned, like the experience from other countries, like best practices, for example, in Ukraine you have these reports that are shadow reports. In Germany you have these reports that are official reports. So like every year we have some reports on family issues, children, education, like any other topics, and there is like a group of professionals also including like representatives of civil society or migration councils and migration groups who are working on these reports. So you also have like this cultural approach. For example, you have many movies, you have books on that, you have also many NGOs working in these spheres, and also many like possibilities for people to engage. For example, like for any age, from the very beginning till the very end, you have many such opportunities for migrants to go and engage themselves. For example, you have like family council. I have this example. I think it's amazing actually. So you can go there as a family, or you can go there as like a person who is interested in the topics, and you have like papers there in 6 different languages. So I think like language is the first thing you need to have to make this thing work. Yeah? You have like Arabic, Russian, you have Turkish, you have Vietnamese, for example. Ukrainian sometimes is missing, but I think like from after the beginning of the war, we have even like over attention to Ukrainian community, so we have like a lot in Ukrainian. And we had like with Jana also in Lichtenberg at the beginning of the war, enormous number of all possible meetings and discussions where representatives of job center were there,
social structures and so on. So people could come and ask their questions about what does it mean paragraph 24, and what does it mean if we want to visit our relatives in Ukraine, do we have a right to come back or not? But like all in all, coming back to your question, still what can we make better? Like we need to learn from our experience. For example, I have like my own family learning German in the German courses. Like they got financing, as many Ukrainians here coming after February 24th. And they are like sitting and saying, oh my God, I cannot learn language as quickly, like 3 or 4 hours per day, 4 or 5 days per week. And we need to have like in 5 weeks, 1 more level of language. We cannot do this. And we do not see any like feedback or any like questionnaire on that, or even an interest from official structures on how it comes to people. Like, do they learn? Do they understand anything? Actually, like no one, like it's my feeling, no one actually cares. So you're sitting there like 4 hours, and then you're coming home. You do not understand anything. You're completely frustrated. And then I was just saying to them, you know, like, swim in the language, be like a child, you know, like, jump into the language, do not ask, do not put anything in question. Why is it like that? Why is this grammar structure so horrible? Like, they are doing this all the time, and I was just like, make this communicative approach, and you will be successful in that. But I mean, like, this feedback is extremely important. So I do not see this control mechanism, at least in the language sphere. And the second thing, what was like a big surprise for me, was that in Berlin, at least, we have this housing problem, and it led to the situation where people like friends, relatives, or like German families who just wanted to help Ukrainian families, they helped with this house and flat, and official structures came like slower, and they were extremely bureaucratic. Like you have like 70 pages of some formulas from job center, and you're sitting there and you do not know the language, and you need to fill them all. And there were no feedback possibility for them, for example, to have it in easier language at the beginning. But then I need to say, like, Berlin learned, and we had a possibility to have like a smaller formula, so it was good. And the third and last thing was medical care. So I had like many examples where refugees from Ukraine came to Berlin and needed, for example, to see a gynecologist or to see a house doctor. And they were like completely left alone. So they needed to call and make an appointment. And it was horror. Actually, I haven't seen such enormous like mass of discrimination in this sphere, because like they were like even my family members, they are trying to call, and they're like broken German, they're trying to make an appointment, and the answer is, you may not come to the appointment without a translator, so you need to like take your translator with you, thank you so much. So I mean, like in this sphere, it's like a big necessity to have control mechanisms that could improve the situation all in all. Thank you very much, and I think it's quite funny, right, when you consider the landscape of the city, see how international it is. You go to a coffee place and you cannot order your coffee in German because the service would say, I don't speak German. And also the public sector is much part, I mean, just confirmed from the economy, nobody anymore requires you to speak German, but just on the side. So we'll slowly come to the end of our third question round, and I would like to go to this really important questions. Of course, all of them were important, but this is like to summarize our discussion. Mr. Mobalek, what do you think? What can we learn general from these diverse communities of migrants, but also of refugees, coming to Berlin for the defense of our democracy here? And what else needs to be changed? What are still the threats for the democracy in Berlin, in Germany? What are the gaps, and how we can best strengthen the civil society in Berlin?
Thank you. Actually, I'm talking a bit about your first part of your question, the people who came in Berlin. Yeah? We, the refugees who are living in exile, We are the people that are excluded from the society, from the community. We lost our rights to citizenship. We have no belonging in our country because we are excluded from this. We lost all the connections. And the refugees, are looking for being connected, being accepted, and being included in the host community. This is what they want. But in practice, if you look, for example, when you're talking how refugee community can strengthen democracy in Berlin, it's clear with the participation and representation. When we're talking about the participation, citizenship right is the fundamental foundations of the participation. And it's related directly to the nationalization process, which is really lent in Berlin. Refugees like me, for example, we have to wait for 2, 3, maybe 2.5 years to have a termin for nationalization process, which means we are denying these people their rights to participate, to be integrated, and also to be active part of our community, particularly in terms of political and civic engagement. The other important issue, besides the participation, is representation. Representing, as I said, it comes always through the communities, groups, and providing this space for them to get together, to discuss their issues, and also formulate the issues that they understand and bring it at the policy level and discuss it with the politicians. This can be done through the NGOs and community people. And if we want to empower the refugees to be active member of the society and improve the democratic process in Berlin, we should empower the NGOs, the community groups, civil society groups, and respect the diversity. For the moment, but as I said, unfortunately, it's a very donor-driven process. NGOs are running after the agenda set up by the donors. They are providing funds for specific issues, like teach them how to search for house. And every NGOs are providing the same service because donors are paying money for this specific service for refugees. So this is also very important.
Thank you very much. But it was very interesting what you said about this need of being included in the society, in the community, and to be connected. I think this is maybe the basic need, right? Like if we want to really have the essence, I think this is what you said at the very beginning, but it's like this red dot that we can see this need of really being a part, being included in the community. And I can just recollect that in Hannah Arendt already, who was a refugee herself, she said in her essay, we refugees, we don't want to be treated as refugees, we want to be treated as ordinary migrants, right? So there is this really need not to be the outsider, right? Not to be from this different context, but to be really a part of the society. But I'll close with the practical question to Magda. We talk about how we can strengthen the social society, maybe on the kind of, high level, but what, from your perspective, since you represent this NGO landscape, what the civil society, the organizations like Agit Polska, for example, need the most? Is it money? Is it space? Is it human resources? Are there the right laws? What is the best support that NGOs can become in Berlin?
So at first I wanted to say a very nice story about how added value of the migrants can be, and of course it is a story of our success. From the work of Agit Polska, of the women who are working there, became the Association of SMART, and then became the cooperative SMART, which we are leading, and which was yesterday nominated to the New Work Award of Germany. And so we are on the short list. You can vote for us. I will kindly ask you to do this because we are the best. And we are really like inclusive. So we are inclusive form because we are using the migrant perspective, creating a structure which is helping the people. We are after 890 people. The half of us has migrants roots. And we are helping to understand the German rules and to act here and to build the economical activities. So this is what we did, and we are bringing the money for the pension fund. So we are paying the pension fund and making the system, the German system, sustainable. It is really interesting, and we are forgetting also about this, that only Germany and Spain are right now in the Europe society, which we know that maybe I will still get the pension fund in 20 years because we have migrants who are working with us, because we are working in the German society. So this was the success story, but of course what NGOs need is space, so fund, and for us it will be also like very interesting to have, it is, if we are talking about communities which are applying in the German language, what is the language of the application? Easy system of the reporting is not easy at all, for example. What are the instruments if we are already in the funding system? How can we do? And really, so what to do for the organization who are on the starting way to help them to work professional? It is really like, then without German people, without German language, it is illusory. You need the wingman, the German wingman, to help you getting through the German labyrinth of administration and the funding system. So this would be really for me quite interesting, like the simplification of the application system if it's done for the people with the migrants. So. And maybe like at least be in two languages, German and English. It will be quite nice. And of course, as I see the representative of the Polish women in Berlin, and so the house for the Polish women in Berlin. I am in the crowdfunding of Marzena Nowak and Polish women in Berlin for building the Polish house for a Polish house for the Polish Women Association. So this is also what I would like to have, and I also encourage you to vote or to be involved in this crowdfunding campaign.
Thank you, Magda. So you are all encouraged to vote and to participate in crowdfunding, and of course also to ask you questions. Sorry, we exceeded a little bit with the time. I hope my guests still have some power and time for a few questions from the audience. Do we have any inquiries, remarks, feedback, questions?
Саша, можете попросити перевести? Sorry. Мене звуть Володимир Жовтяк, я представляю організацію ВІЛ-позитивних українців у Німеччині.
So his name is Volodymyr Żowciak, and he's representing the organization of HIV-positive people from Ukraine in Germany.
Я хочу зараз сказати, що в Німеччині, незважаючи на те, що цей центр Європи, дуже поганий доступ мігрантів, і я скажу не тільки від ВІЛ-позитивних в Німеччині, а від всіх ВІЛ-позитивних мігрантів, які є у Німеччині. Не мають люди можливості отримувати лікування життєво необхідне, якщо в них нема легалізованого статусу.
And what Volodymyr wants to point out, and it's not only about HIV, I think we have to close, no, Podium, too close to the microphone. Not only about HIV people, positive people from Ukraine, but from different countries and German people too, that the access to treatment for HIV positive migrants is still not so good.
І це виглядає дуже дивно, тому що такий доступ є не тільки в Україні для нелегалізованих мігрантів до лікування, а й в країнах Африки.
And particularly he is speaking about refugees who are not legalized, who have illegal status. And it's actually very, very strange because that we have such a situation in Germany, because these people have access to treatment in different countries, for example, also in countries on African continent.
Доступ до лікування – це не тільки здоров'я ВІЛ-позитивних людей, а це і здоров'я оточуючих, тобто німецької громади. І дуже дивна позиція влади до цього питання.
So access to treatment for HIV positive migrants who have a legal status is totally important. It's totally important for health of these people, but also for health of the rest of the community, of like the whole society, German society. And so for him it's very, very strange what is the position of German government and administration towards that.
В цю неділю Всесвітній день пам'яті людей, які загинули від ВІЛ-СНІДу. Наша організація разом з іншими мігрантськими організаціями зустрічається в 12-й годині на Бранденбурзьких вратах, щоб висловити свою позицію і закликати владу до доступу до лікування мігрантів. Запрошуємо всіх бажаючих приєднатися до нас.
So this Sunday there will be the International Day of Remembrance for people who died from HIV, and Volodymyr Żółtiak and his NGO Positive Ukraine, they are doing Remembrance Commemoration Day on Brandenburger Gate at 12 o'clock on Sunday, and everybody is invited. It's an important Remembrance Day.
Okay, so I understand there was the question to the German government and administration, so I don't know which one, maybe Livia or Katarina would like to take the question. And please be brief, and also in the questions, if you ask your questions, please try to make it relatively short. Thank you. We can collect as well, yes, if there are not too many questions. Then I have to contact.
Hello, my question is, what is the first steps for Ukrainians you think must be here in Germany? Maybe not first steps, but like for us first steps. In political system, in social system like this. We're newcomers, and I'm on every event for Ukrainians from the start of the war, and there's all your organization is cool, but I never understand what to do.
All right, do we have any other questions? Or we should... here in the front. First row.
Доброго дня, мене звати Олена. Наразі ми столкнулися з такою проблемою, як нашим дітям, яким через рік-два прийдеться здавати іспити в німецьких гімназіях, в німецьких школах, і їм потрібно зараз вивчати німецьку як дорослим на інтеграційних курсах. Але наразі нема ні курсів для підлітків, саме для підлітків, які будуть здавати іспити, ні дозволу від джоб-центру чи від БАМФу. Що з цим робити взагалі?
So this is Olena, and her main question is, and it's a collected question from a lot of moms, as I have heard, there are no German classes for youth, for Jugendliche. These youth who came from Ukraine and who are studying at schools, they will now have an exam in chemistry or in mathematics, but you cannot pass the exam in chemistry or mathematics if your German is like in big planes. So the problem is that whether job center nor another institution is offering German courses for youth, for youth who came as refugees. What we should do?
Right, so who would like to take the question? It's, I think, about some elementary things, right? Starting with first steps.
Yeah, I would sorry. I would just ask the first question on health and the education. Give you the mic. Yeah, I already heard this problem about the issue, no treatment and so on, and I would like to go back to you just afterwards, because actually there are some ways, and I will get in touch with our health department, try to understand more what the barriers are, what the problems are. Because you're not the only one. I spoke with another woman who told me the same, and I would like to understand, and hopefully I'll solve this problem.
Thank you for your questions. Like for the HIV positive, I also saw this invitation on Sunday, 12 o'clock. Maybe you sent it per Facebook or somehow, like I saw it, and it's extremely important that you are talking about this issue, because it's very good that we have like all of us here that we can take this question with us. Thank you for that. About the first steps in Germany, I would say language is all the time like the first, if you are not maybe in IT sector. So it's like extremely important for integration, for access to work, to job, to any other things. If you want to stay in Germany, you need to learn German. And about your like political involvement, or you said that you see us here, but you didn't know like what are the contact details. Normally, like it's all in the internet, so normally like all political parties, they have their website, they have Wikipedia articles about them, also like our legislation, our executive branch.
Not the instruction.
Yeah, maybe we can like it's the same suggestion as it was said here. We can stay in touch, and I will explain to you like where to find information, how to find information. Normally, you have this on paper as well in all the different organizations, like this Family Council, for example. So you come there and you get the contacts and how you can participate. And if you want to go into political sphere, for example, you have political parties here, and they have different ideologies. So you need to learn more about them and to learn more about yourself, like what political parties, for example, is closer to you. And in this case, you can start being part of this party, not changing the citizenship. So, like, I started my political engagement without German citizenship, but with Ukrainian one, and it was necessary for me to change the citizenship in the case if I wanted to vote or to be elected. So before that, all my engagement was without changing the citizenship. And do you want to ask? Yeah.
I mean, like maybe the real organization or something where we can come. For example, I was on event for Ukrainian entrepreneurs, and it was many organizations where you can come and have a first consultation with your idea, with your thought. And I don't find here something like this, where, oh, okay, I understand all the ways that your working on. But for me, like I was public figure in Ukraine. I was very active organizer, like and for me, it's a problem here. Like Germany didn't answer on emails. Maybe they will write, we will answer you by post in 1 month. Yeah, or maybe in 2 months. Yeah, and for example, we're here for 1 year, and I have here 5 events, and what? Germany said, tell me what you will hear in 1 year. I don't know if the war will start, or will stop, or no, like that. So there is no, like, I don't ask for quick answers, but I ask for the channel that I will know that I will get the answer. Not like a post. I like this. I like German post. It's worked very quick. It's worked very good. No problem. And it's good for bureaucracy. I take 1 document and I'm a person here with this document. But before I get this document, before I get the status of refugee, of course, I have. But even if I have problems with the status of refugee, because I couldn't go somewhere in some social because I'm a refugee. So, like, I even don't have a specialist who will tell me, like, you are not a refugee, you are an interpreter. Please do not take job center 50 or 100. Oh! For all of us, it's not the money that we live on. Yeah? So, what is the right channel to communicate?
It's an amazing question. I think like post will be the way to communicate like for several years at least, or several decades. But like maybe you were asking also about the place, and we have like I have 2 answers for you. Like in every district you have a district council, so Rathaus. So go there and you get the first information on how to connect and find the answers. But also we see it here, Allianz Ukrainische Organisation. So in this case it's like Ukrainian diaspora. They are like completely different, with different approaches, with different initiatives, but they found the way to each other and connected. So here you can also get the information if you want, for example, to participate in some humanitarian project, or you want to get some help on educational issues, like in any case. And about your third question, it's very good that you asked that. I can take it with me because, like, my experience was that school kids are going to school and they are learning German there, so they got their German courses. I got successful stories in that, and I got completely unsuccessful stories. Like, even in one family with 3 kids, we have one who is like, wow, and the others 2 like, So they're not motivated to learn, and it's the same family. But the like up teens, like before they're like going from school to the university, my experiences, as you told, they are going with adults and the courses are not adapted for them. The possibility, like, I will take it with me and think about that, how we can elaborate on it. Yeah, there are some options. There are some summer schools, for example, or integration courses preparing you for higher education, like Studienkolleg, for example. It is possible after the ending of the school, finishing of the school, not to go directly to the university, but to have this Studienkolleg. And it's like 1 year where you get different courses. For example, let's say your kid wants to study biology, so he gets like biology and chemistry and so on, and also German courses. So like at the age of 16 or 17, it's a normal way even before the war. For example, if you do not have a bachelor and you come to Germany after the school with 16, 17, you're a minor, so you cannot, for example, live alone, like rent a flat alone, you cannot open the bank account. You need a person who will take care and responsibility, but you go not to the university directly, you go to the Studienkolleg, and it's like my suggestion for prolonging this, to give this person one more year to integrate, to learn the language and to understand whether he or she wants to learn this or that subject. I will take this issue with me, so thank you for that. Two more short questions, please. I understand you are very interested in the details, but maybe let's take the detailed information and questions to the unofficial part of the evening, and let's maybe just focus on the questions that might be relevant for the most of the audience. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Lisa. I'm working for the university in the funding department, and I had the pleasure to meet the group and was invited to talk about funding possibilities. And I met wonderful civil actors, activists from Ukraine, which are highly professionalists, and I did a little research about funding possibilities here in Berlin and in Germany, and I highly recommend to make the forms much more easier, because we have to talk about money when we want to get engaged, and we have to talk about access to the money. And without German language, it's really complicated to apply for money.
Thank you for this comment. So it's a very clear need, right? We need the right forms in more languages. The last question.
Так, я хотіла, мене звати Доценко Ірина. Я хотіла запитати, сьогодні піднімалися про важливі питання конфліктів, які виникають, власне, з дітьми і не тільки, і з дорослими. І це конфлікти, які відбуваються в сім'ях, коли дружини змушені були тікати від війни, втікали сюди з дітьми, і зараз перерваний зв'язок, спілкування їх з батьками. І це теж велика проблема, і теж конфлікти, які варто вирішувати. І чи не розглядається питання залучати медіаторів для вирішення таких конфліктів, оскільки ця спільнота теж є дуже сильною, і, зокрема, багато представників є тут, в Німеччині, цієї спільноти, які наразі і працюють в цих питаннях, але хотілося б, напевно, якось об'єднатися і працювати в одному руслі і бути корисними в цьому напрямку. Чи розглядалися такі питання конфліктних ситуацій залучати медіаторів? Дякую.
Okay, so this is Irina Docenko. She is mediator from Ukraine. She was also part of our group on political activism. Her question is, she knows that already a question of conflicts was raised, and she thinks that it's a very important question. She knows that there are conflicts here. For example, children came to Germany without parents, and they are losing the connection to the parents, or woman came to Germany and she's also losing a connection to a partner who is now in the war, or this connection is very complicated. And so her question is, there are a lot of people from mediators' side now in Berlin, are very strong mediators, and if it would be good to think to combine this experience of mediators who are here with this challenge that we have conflicts.
Was it more a statement or a question?
That was a question.
As a question. Would you like me to answer on that?
Thank you so much for your question. I got several emails from Ukrainian psychologists, for example, who wanted to work as volunteers and to help Ukrainian refugees exactly in the question like you put it, mediating between families who are like divided and living in two countries. So for example, dads are in the Ukrainian army and do not have any contact. So I haven't heard about any official structure that took this into consideration and said, let's take these Ukrainian psychologists. It's a good thing, I can take it with me. It's a necessity to have this financial stability for people working there. For example, if these people will help Ukrainian refugees, they need to get this financing, or if they want to volunteer and, for example, do it in their free time, how it will be structured, where they sit, where they work, where they have this space. So it's a question of space as well. It's also the question of their like sphere, where exactly they can help. And in Germany, for example, they will not get like Ukrainian psychologists. They will not get access to the job market as quickly. For example, they cannot be here as like doctors or something without further qualification and without further education. So it will take time. And I saw like in these emails that people were frustrated and said like, we want to help, but we do not have any floor, like what should we do? And we do not have official structures for that for now. So I will also take this with me, and it's like all the time like money and space, like where they can have this opportunities.
So my cooperative can offer for the next half a year space if you offer the money.
See, this is the power of network. You just bring the right people to one room and you get the solution. Good. So this was the last question. I hope you have the understanding, because we are quite exceeded in the time, but we still have some time by wine and nice food to exchange, also to also collect more impulses. Many thanks to my dear guests for the participation in this very interesting discussion. Many thanks also to the audience for interesting questions, but also remarks. And I take from this discussion that we still have a lot of challenges and room for improvements in terms of structures, communication, maybe matching the right needs with the right offers. Also possibilities to work for psychologists, as we just learned. But I think altogether we already have a very nice cooperation and connection between the different sectors, and I really think that Berlin has the opportunity to become their hub for the civil society, where the civil society can really flourish and advance with, of course, help of all of us. Thank you very much for the participation, and I invite you to the nice part of the evening.